Guys, what's up? It's Chad Close here with CCGaming, and today we're going to be talking about Blender, and we're going to make our character player. Before we get started, I took a look at all the past videos that I made, and I noticed that you can hear the fan in my computer, which is kind of annoying, so I'm sorry about that. But I ordered some adapters and whatnot, so I'll be able to use my Turtle Beaches for my mic, and that should make everything sound a lot better, so stick around for that. Should be hopefully next video. Depends on shipping and when I make the next video. Alright. One thing I noticed. Alright, let's get started. First I'm going to show you the basics of Blender. So I just went ahead and opened up Blender from that startup file that we made in the second video, I believe. And then we're going to watch a video of, we're going to do things a little different. Normally I model and make the video at the exact same time. This time I modeled, and then we're gonna watch the video, and I'm gonna comment on it, and we'll see how that goes. It'll be a little different since I'm not actually modeling and making the video at the same time. I might be able to point out some more stuff, which will be helpful for you guys. So let's just get the basics of Blender, because this is gonna be a beginning tutorial. So we have our scene view, and we went over moving around the scene and all some of the panels. But this panel pretty much does everything in the scene. This one is going to be kind of our material or settings for certain objects, such as this one's our name. We can add modifiers, set materials, and stuff. Down here, we're not going to do much with this panel. This is just a time, like making animations and stuff. And then over here, if you hit the T button, it brings out the tools, and if you hit the N button, it brings out this tab over here. So NT toggles those. And then one thing's to get noted before I show the video, and I talked about how to look at the views earlier. If you select the A button, you can select everything, and then you can hit the B button to box select things, or you can just select things and hold shift, or that's pretty much all those. Some of the basic move commands that I'm going to be doing are G, which is just grabbing for grab, and you can move all the things that you have selected. And there's rotate, so if I select all these and then hit rotate, it rotates. And there's also scale, so if I hit the S button, you can see that. I'll have the screencast going on in the next video too, so you guys can see all of that. Another thing is going to be extrude, which is pretty much if I have this face selected and I extrude it, I just pretty much, you extrude another face out and whatnot, and then you can scale it down and rotate and stuff. One thing to note is, say I wanted to extrude this, and I wanted it, and I grabbed it, and I wanted it to go up and down along the Z-axis, as you can see down here, our orientation. You can click Z, and then you can see it locks, and then you could type in like 1.5, and put in a user-defined thing. So let's roll that video, and let's start on that. So I got the video all booted up, and as you can see, we're just starting off with our default. So my mouse looks a little bigger. Oh, it's about the same size. Well, that'll be fun. I guess mine's got a little hand, I guess. So I'm just going to delete everything by using the A and pressing X to delete everything. Next thing I am going to do is I'm going to go over in this N panel and change up my 3D cursor and zero it out to 0. And then I'm just going to go up here and click the Add button and add a cube. And what you just saw, what I did is how after I added the cube, was a little fast there. So I zeroed out the 3D cursor, added a cube, and then I went into edit mode by using this panel right here, going down in this edit tab down there. Sorry about that skip. Or you can also hit the tab button and you can go in and out of edit mode. Alright, so now what you're about to see me do is I'm going to do Control R, which makes that edge loop that you saw, that purple. And then you can add more edge loops by scrolling up or down, or you can input how many you want. Alright, so we'll just go ahead and keep playing that. Next thing you're going to see me do is select this button right here, and what this does, it allows me to select everything. Like it makes you be able to see through the object pretty much, so you'll be able to select vertices through a face and like that stuff. So if I say box selected this vertice right here, it wouldn't only select this vertice, it would select the vertice behind it. Alright? So let's just keep playing, and I'm just gonna delete this half, and then I'm gonna go over here to the modifier tab and add a mirror modifier. And what's that gonna do once I correct it? It's just gonna mirror it along the x-axis, or along the y-axis, my bad. And then I enabled clipping, which pretty much it clips all the vertices that are touching the middle, so it combines it once you add the thing. So I'm just working on the tracks here by simply using the scale tool and the grab tool. As you can see, I'm doing a lot of buttons really fast. I just added some edge loops in here, and kind of I'm just playing around right now. As you can see, I changed the mirror modifier, so I only have to do a fourth of the track rather than all 2 tracks. So I'm just kind of playing around right now, scaling things, grabbing things, moving around, trying to get this rounded edge going, kind of how I like it. Alright, so as you can see, I'm just grabbing, scaling, nothing too special. We'll just keep playing this. As you can see, I applied the mirror modifier because I was going to make the back half of the tracks a different size, but I ended up not even doing that. So I'm not going to talk about any of the techniques I'm using right now, so you guys don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to delete the back half. Yep, I just undid it a bunch of times, and yeah, so kind of just playing around. I'm making it a little skinnier, and then in a little bit, I believe I'm going to delete that side and reapply the mirror modifier. So here we go. And I didn't do clipping. Alright, so I got my tracks. I'm kind of liking how I like them. So I'm going to delete all the middle ones and kind of put an inset. So what I'm doing right here is how I selected that entire loop. If I go back a little bit. Alright, a little too much. So I deleted all the middle ones, and then I'm going to select one of these loops, which is called an edge loop. As you can see, I have the entire loop selected, and by doing that, I can just hold the Alt button and right-clicking on an edge, and it selects the entire loop. And I selected the wrong one, and then I'm just going to simply extrude it and scale it in. And then I'm going to scale along the x-axis so we have a nice even inset here. And then I'm going to extrude it again and put it on the inside. Next, I'm going to fill it in by pressing the F button. Alright, and I'm just going to keep playing around with it. Right down here in this tab, right here, you can select what you want to select. So right now I'm in vertex mode, so you can see all the little vertexes. Or you can change it to edge mode or face mode. So right up here, when I select face mode, and then now I can select all of the faces. And I'm just going to grab that middle face and move it using the arrows along the y-axis to move it in. Right, so I believe this is pretty much the end of making the tracks. I'm just going to fill in the backside and call it good. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the body of the tank. And to do that, I'm just going to simply reposition the 3D cursor because it's off in a space, and then add another starter cube. So let's get that made. Alright, so then I'm just going to scale this down after I do apply my mirror modifier and clip it and do all that good stuff. As you can see, I added the cube inside the tank or the tracks already, so I didn't have to do it twice, and I have one object. So again, I'm just using the scale buttons and the grab buttons to kind of just get the desired look I want. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. You can play around, use your own creativity. Again, I just added edge loop using Control R. Gonna move that down and then kind of fill up all the space. There's some overlapping, but you're not going to be able to see this because you're looking from the top view, and also the object is going to be kind of small in the scene in Unity. Again, this is a game object, so I'm kind of making it limited faces. If you're using render purposes, you do a lot higher poly. As you can see right up here in this corner, we're at 78 faces just for the body, which is good. Especially if I'm ever going to port this over to an Android game, which I probably will. So keeping it low in faces is always a good thing. Right now I'm just kind of playing around with the looks again. I'm trying to get more of a curved, like a like a raindrop kind of look. A futuristic tank, I guess, not really. And I guess it's not even called a tank what I'm doing, because I ended up putting the turret on top, because in the game we're going to have it be able to select, you'll be able to pick up different guns. Right here to note, if you just saw what I did, I rotated this down, and then I moved it down because I wanted it even with this plane. So how I wanted to make it exactly even, I just box selected everything, and then I'm going to hit scale along the z-axis, and then I'm going to input 0, and that's just going to scale it all nice and flat. So now I get this nice flat spot right there. So just keep playing around with the looks. I'm going to add kind of a front thing by using the extrude button. First I'm going to go into face mode, and then I'm going to extrude this out and selected all 4 of those faces, and I just scaled it down. Alright, so I kind of like this front. I believe next I'm going to add kind of a windshield look. Yep, select those 2, and then I'm going to extrude it down, and I get this nice indent layer, which is good. Alright, so now I'm kind of getting a look kind of what I like. So next I'm going to go over and work on the back of this thing. I'm going to do a similar process. I'm just going to extrude the back out. I guess I'm going to play around with nope, I'm going to extrude the back out. So I just extruded it a little bit, kind of get this nice rounded thing. I didn't want it just flush, so keep doing that. Kind of pulled it out, and I believe I extruded one more, so I just kind of have like a tail looking thing at the end of this thing. Alright, so I'm just going to about that. My time recorder lapsed, so I just finished the tail, and now I'm going to add some to the wells in here. I'm just going to add a circle. So I'm just going to replace my 3D cursor right here, and then I'm going to go add mesh circle. Over here you can see me changing the vertices to 8 just to keep it a low poly rather than doing all 32 faces, because I don't need that. Next thing I'm going to do is, as you can see, I'm in face select, so I can't actually manipulate these vertices because I need to be in vertices because this isn't a face, so I quickly figured that out. Switch it, and then I'm going to rotate it along the x-axis, and then 90 degrees, and then I'm going to scale it down and position it kind of how I like. One thing to note, when I scaled that down and rotated it, I enabled clipping, otherwise it would have clipped it in the center and you would have had a heyday with that. So, alright, so I'm just duplicating them here by selecting a ring, and then you hit shift duplicate, and then you can just move it over using the G command, grab. And I'm just kind of placing them how I want. I selected them all, and then I'm going to move them inside thing and extrude them out. Next I'm just going to go ahead and fill all of these individually by using the Alt select key. So now I'm kind of liking how the body looks, and I believe this is pretty much going to be the end. I'm going to add a front kind of a vent down here. You can see this little indent. We won't be texturing it in this video, we'll be texturing it later on. We're just going to make it, and then our next video will probably throw this tank into our game, and then we'll have to modify the code a little bit for steering and looking and stuff like that, but it's not going to be just a couple lines. Next I'm kind of playing around with the smooth shading, because when you import it into Unity, it automatically puts everything to smooth, and I don't really like this look. So I'm going to go overhead and add a edge split modifier. After I kind of play around with this, you don't pay attention to this. I'm going to undo it, so don't worry about it. Ignore me right now. Alright, so I undid that, and then I'm going to go ahead and add an edge split modifier. And now you can see, depending on this degree, it's going to smooth certain faces out type of thing. So I believe I end up putting this up to about 45 is the desired look I want. I kind of want this smooth front and then nice edge rims over here. So I eventually figure out 45 is about right. Alright, so, and there we go. So now we got smooth tracks, smooth windshield, and everything's looking good. Alright. So I think it gets my earlier approval. And next we're going to start working on the weapon. Alright. First I'm going to make the platform for where I'm going to put all the weapons. So I'm just going to go into vertice modes and kind of take this flat top that I got going on here and make it a little bigger. And before I do that, I undo it all, and then I'm going to save it just to make sure I don't, or if I don't like what I'm doing, I can always go back to a point. So scale it out, get a nice top going on there, and I'm just going to extrude that up to get a nice clean base. Alright, so we got our base and we have our platform, and we can start our, what am I doing? I'm recalculating. Recalculating the normals, just make sure all the shading and everything is going right. It's always a good idea to do that. And that is in the N tab. Alright, so you can see my vertices and faces aren't terribly high, 286. That's pretty good. That's actually really, really low. So that's good in case I'm going to use this for other things. And I'm just going to go over here in this tab and name it body. Alright, so real time and taking to make this. It took me about 10 minutes to make this. It was actually perfect timing because my time recorder timed out. So that is the body. Now we're starting into the actual gun making. So I put it back a little bit. I think after I point up here is when I start making it. Right, so what I just did right there is I clicked this face and I shift duplicated it. Then I'm going to do Alt V and I'm going to separate it. And this is going to be our start of our turret. So I just unselected it, selected the body that I just made. And I'm going to go ahead and apply the mirror modifier. Oh, I didn't apply it. I should have. Yep, there we go. I applied it. And I'm just going to get rid of this edge split modifier. And I'm just going to rename that turret. And then we can start going. First I'm going to get rid of these unneeded vertices in the middle and then fill that in. I'm going to go ahead and scale that down. I believe I'm going to replace this with a circle, and I want everything I make in this object to be centered. So what I did right here is I selected everything and then hit Control S, or maybe it's Shift S. Shift S down here. And I'm going to go cursor to selected, which just replaces my 3D cursor in the middle of where everything I have selected. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in there and move that up, get it out of the way, and then I'm going to add another mesh circle and just scale that down, and this is going to be the base of the swivel of my turret. So I'm just going to go ahead, extrude this up, scale it down, kind of get a desired look, keep playing around with it. I'm extruding it up again, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me of what I wanted to make this turret look like. There's a lot of wasted time in here, just kind of playing around. But that's all in the learning process. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep extruding it and kind of get this spread out base. And now you get to see me try to figure out what I want to do with this and just fail. So I'm just going to skip ahead, and I will come back to you when I get to a spot where I like. Alright, so I stopped messing around, and what I just did is I selected these 4 points, duplicated them, and then I moved them up, and I also filled them in. And I'm just going to make a box right here, just kind of for a filler right now. And again, I'm going to replace my cursor to selected, and I'm going to add another mesh circle, and I'm going to get the barrel going on here. So I'm going to replace the vertices to 8 to 6, because I don't need as many, and I'm also going to rotate this along the, what is that, the x-axis, no, the y-axis. I'm just going to go ahead and extrude it out and get this bigger barrel going on here. Again, just using extrude, scale, and grab. So I'm just extruding this in, scaling it down, and then I'm going to extrude it out again and get the bases of our barrel. Alright. So got that going on. Looks good, looks good. I'm just extruding it out, kind of get the barrel tip going on here. And now I'm going to make a smaller barrel underneath it. So I'm just going to select those, shift duplicate it, scale it down, and kind of place it where I want. as I noticed, the big side on the left is a little too small, so I'm going to go ahead, select all that, and scale it up after I finished figuring that out and placing this model. So I'm going to scale this side up, and then I'm going to move it back so it's in place. Oops. And I'm just going to put that in the object so you can see it coming out. Next, I'm going to make a connector. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to use already made pipe and just use Control R and using some shift duplicating and edge loops to get this effect. So first I'm going to add all the edge loops, line them up. They don't have to be perfect because we'll be able to scale X0 them. And we're going to do the same thing with the other side. Move them over and kind of get our desired width of how we want this to look. Run it a little closer to the end of the barrel. And then I'm going to shift duplicate and separate it. We'll add it back to again. Next I'm just going to get rid of the edge loops on our pipes because we don't want those extra faces. And then go into object mode, select the new faces. Alright, so I'm just going to scale this up so it's a little bit bigger than our objects. And I'm going to delete this face and then this face right here, and I'm going to go ahead and select these. And how I'm going to do that, or merge them. And how I'm going to do that is use the merge tool for the vertices. So I'm going to select the two vertices I want to merge. So this one and then this one, and then I'm going to do Control V, merge, and then I'm going to do at last. So it merges at the last one I just selected. I'm going to do this for all 4 points. And now we get this one object looking good. Next, I'm going to, I believe just straighten them all up. And then I'm going to make a side one, I believe, next. I'm going to make the side one next. So how I'm going to do that is I'm just simply going to shift, duplicate, and move it over along the x-axis. Scale it down so this one's a little bit smaller. And I'm going to go ahead and extrude the top left over and extrude it over again. Make these all even up using the scale X0. And then I'm going to go ahead and select the vertices and then click the F button to fill. Next I'm going to extrude this all in, so instead of just being a plane, a 2D plane, we're going to make it a 3D. So I'm just going to hit the E, extrude it in a little bit, and then next thing I'm going to do is, as you can see, they kind of shrunk in. I didn't really like that, so I just selected the edge loops using the Alt button, and then moved them along the X-axis. So got all those evened up, looking good. Had to use the box selector there. So now I'm liking the barrel so far, and now I'm going to work on how to connect the barrel. And again, I kind of get caught up here. Actually, I believe I make the ammo box next, maybe. So, I believe I'm just going to select the middle box by... Oh, I'm joining them here. So, if you missed that, I'm selecting the object, and then the other object, the turret object, and then I'm going to hold, and then click Control J. And what that does is it joins the two objects. And now you can see when I come back in this second. Alright, so looking good there, and as you can see, now the bracket is inside the same object. I'm just going to duplicate this cube over here, and again, using scale and rotate and grab, I'm just going to place it how I want. I'm going to rotate it so it looks like it's being fed in the side. Alright. And I'm just going to rotate a little bit, tilt it, and get it in the position I want. Next, I'm going to extrude it out so it looks like it's being fed inside the gun. And I'm going to mess around with how I want it, if I wanted it to feed out the top or the side. So I'm just going to use Control R to add some edge loops. The first edge loop is just going to be an idea, and then I'm like, you know, I don't really like this. So I change it to the side, and then I'm going to go ahead and select the face that I just created, and just scale it down, and then extrude it out and make a bolt going into the side. Alright, so looking good there. Moving the back, or I'm just going to fill in the back and move it back a little bit. So now we kind of got the gun done. Alright. And I thought it was a little too high because I mean, it's not really scaled right, or it doesn't look right on the gun, so I'm just gonna move it down. I get rid of the middle cube because I didn't really like it. And now I do a bunch of playing around, but ultimately I really just waste a lot of time right here, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip forward for you guys. Alright, so I believe I'm getting to a point where I actually pick what I like. I'm just gonna delete this. As you can see, this top part is a little bit different. I just extruded this bottom face down, extruded it out, added a couple edge loops right here and right here, and again on the other sides, and extruded it down again just so it would fit nice with this bottom face. And I also scaled these two and these two out a little bit along the x-axis. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make this a little bit smaller, make sure it looks nice. And what I end up doing is just making this kind of go into the bottom. So nothing too fancy, but it's gonna work. Next, I'm gonna want to mount this ammo turret after I figure out with all the looks and details over here. And how I'm gonna do that is I'm just gonna simply add an edge loop, 2 to be exact. Nope, maybe 1. I'm indecisive. And I'm gonna extrude them out along the faces. So using the E, and then I'm gonna scale them down and rotate it, and also grab it. And I'm gonna make this kind of arm-looking thing come out here. Again, extruding, grabbing, and rotating. I'm going to select this bottom face, extrude it out, and then I'm going to end up, I want this all moved up a little bit. So, because I kind of want like the top of it being shown, and then kind of the container, holding the container of ammo there. So I'm just going to grab this and add an edge loop. I believe I just delete the entire bottom. The hard and long way, deleting it face by face. Right, and then I'm going to select that, extrude it out, and then I'm going to extrude along the X so it's all even, and then again extrude it down. Alright. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect them by using, I believe I might use the bridge tool right here. That would be kind of cool, because I haven't shown it to you yet, but I don't remember. Again, just kind of messing with the details, making it look a little bit better, how I like. So I'm going to add another edge loop so it connects up right here nice. Next, I'm going to delete these 2 faces because they're unneeded. 3 faces, I guess. First, I'm going to try to bridge it, and then I'm like, oh, it didn't work. Why did it work? And I figured out these 2 faces aren't here. So I had and just delete that edge. Select them all, hitting the W key, hitting edge loop, and then bridge. So now I got that all bridged. Looking good. I'm going to select everything, make sure I don't have any doubles, recalculate it, and we're looking good. Now I'm going to go ahead and smooth this up and see how it looks, how it's going to import. So I go over here, set it to smooth, and I end up don't liking that, so I'm going to first recalculate because there's a little bad shadowing going on here, and that's all done in the end tool. And I'm going to add an edge split, and I believe I set the degrees to around 60 to get a nice smooth going on. So we got that going on. Right, so we got that shading looking good. Bumping it up slowly by slowly, little bit by little bit. Eventually I get up to the 60 and figure out that's the best. There's a little bit weird shading going on the barrels, but it's the point where you can't really tell. And it looks like right there, hold on, I think I forgot to fill in the face, so I'm going to go ahead and open up Blender real quick. Go into my player, and yep, so I'm going to go ahead and select this and hit the F tool, fill that in. And I believe this is like, yeah, that's the end. So go ahead and exit that, and I'm going to go ahead and try to fix this. We'll just go 62, and the shading looks good there now. Go ahead and save it. So now you can see in our game we'll be able to move our object, and then we'll be able to move our turret independently because the axis is right down the middle for the object, which is exactly what we want. I'm actually just going to hold or select this edge loop, hit Shift S, cursor to selected, and then I'm going to go ahead, back out, go back into object mode, click the object, go object, transform, and then origin to 3D cursor. So now it's just right there, and that'll be easier in Unity. So now if I rotate this along the z-axis, you can see we'll be able to shoot in any direction we want while driving the vehicle in the direction we want. I think that's all we have for this episode. I believe next episode we'll go ahead and import this in, rewrite the code a little bit, and go from there. So I hope you guys join us, subscribe, like, and stay tuned.